Now we're recording.
There we go. Perfect. Okay. Hello, everybody. Again, we are on our second week of our objection series. I'm Ashley Johnson. I don't know if I introduced myself last time, but I'm Ashley Johnson. For those of you that aren't on the Team Hope page, I am a Ruby ambassador, and Cassie and I are sidelines. So we decided to go ahead and jump in and do this together for a couple weeks. Super fun. Nice to have new faces and to be able to pull from some others of you and get your input. So love that about this.
Yeah.
What we're going to do tonight. Go ahead.
I was going to say before, because some of your team might not know me. So
yeah, go for it.
My name is Cassie. I get Casey all the time, so I'm just going to let y'all know it's Cassie. I am a senior Ruby ambassador, and I've been doing this for 2 years, and I love it. And I love learning all kinds of new stuff all the time. So this is why I love Sideline Friends, because it's so much fun when you can do it with friends, and especially ones like Ashley. So we cannot wait to share all this awesome stuff that we're learning, and it's going to be a really good night. So.
Yes. Okay, so last week we talked a little bit about just objections in general and how they can kind of impact our business, and how we basically just need to take those objections, address them, and then keep moving. And I know it can be hard. That I made it sound really simple. I know it's not always that simple. We run into them all the time. Don't think that you're the only one. Like, after 2.5 years, I'm still getting objections, guys. Quite a few of them in this last week. So it's normal. You've got to just push through them, keep going. Don't let them hurt your soul, and keep moving. So what we want to do tonight is we want to take a look at color personalities and how they respond to certain objections, what objections might kind of stand in their way, how to kind of talk to people with different color personalities, and see what we can learn here. We did a whole color series on Plex's Team Hope page. And so this is just kind of taking it and going a little bit further and going more specifically into the objections that certain colors might have. So tonight we're going to talk to some greens and yellows, and I'm going to do the interview tonight. Next week we will do reds and blues, and Kathy's going to lead that one up. So this isn't something that we could really practice, or I mean, I have a list of questions, so I prepped, I guess, kind of, sort of. So we're just going to kind of see how this goes, and we'll go from there. So tonight, let's see, because I don't know everybody on Cassie's team. So I'm interviewing, I believe, is it Tammy, right? Is that the Tammy? Okay, hi, Tammy. And then I see Dustin, I'm assuming, is the one sitting next to Kasia. Hello, Dustin. And then Michelle, who's on my team. And then, is it Christy?
Yep, she's in the robe.
Yes, there is. Oh, there she is. Yes. Christy and I met, I think, on a book study, right, Christy? Did we do a book study together a while ago? Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do, all you people that I just called out, is let's first identify colors. So we have Tammy and Michelle are yellows. I got that right? Okay, so they are yellow people. And then Dustin and Christy are more green-minded people. That being said, we know that even though you identify more with one color than another, many people have multiple colors that they associate with. So we don't want to box you into that one color. But we do know that they tend to lean a little bit more towards that way. So I'm just going to call you guys out and ask you questions, and then ask the other people if they kind of agree with those, or if they have anything different that they would like to add, or maybe it's totally different. And just because one green answered one way, the other green can answer a completely different way. So just be honest with us here. The first question I'm going to start with is, what were you most skeptical about? And so with that, it could be the people, it could be the company, it could be the products, it could be anything. But take a second. What were you most skeptical about? I'm going to start with Michelle. I see she looks ready.
I unmuted myself there. So as far as being skeptical in regards to Plexus and the products and that part of it, I don't know that it was as much the products as it was the idea of an MLM company overall. I did not have experience in with any other MLMs. I hadn't like represented one before. I hadn't purchased things besides, you know, a candle or a bag or something like that. Pretty self-explanatory products, but something that, you know, was really a little bit more in depth, a little bit more about just the idea of purchasing from a company that wasn't on a grocery store shelf.
Sure. And so what would you say eased your mind, Michelle? Was there something that eased your mind? Did you just say, forget it, I'm just going to try it, nothing eased my mind? What was it?
Yeah, so I definitely feel that knowing the person that was sharing about the products made a big difference for me, and that I very much so trusted. And it was Ashley, you know, for those of you that don't know my story. So Ashley was the one sharing, and I knew Ashley's background, and I knew that she was a person of character. I knew that she was someone who had knowledge about health and wellness. So it was really more so the person that I was watching, that I was following, than it was initially Plexus as a company or the fact that it was an MLM.
Okay, that's great. And so keep in mind, that's coming from a yellow. So she's saying that her experience was, it was the person more than the company for her. Mm-hmm. Tammy, where I can't find Tammy anymore. Oh, there she is. Tammy, would you say you have a similar experience or something different? Like, what were you skeptical about and what eased your mind?
Skeptical. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Skeptical about everything. And what eased my mind was a lot of Googling the ingredients and Plexus, but Cassie is what ultimately, I'm under Cassie. She is what ultimately changed everything, was her relationship with me.
Okay.
And the way she talked to me.
Yes. So two yellows, very similar story. Tammy did also Google and take a look at that. So it's not just the greens that are Googling. And so know that. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. But Tammy ultimately came down to Cassie. Michelle came down to Ashley. So making that connection with the person that they were buying from. Okay, let's see if the greens have a similar story. Let's start with Justin. Justin, what were you skeptical about? What eased your mind?
I was extremely skeptical about the products. Like, I didn't really know a whole lot about it. So to preference a lot of it, basically I'm just supporting cash on a lot of stuff. So I'm not really pushing the business. I take a lot of the products. So that being said, she's going to know a lot more about the information. But when we first started, Kasia came to me and was like, hey, I've talked to some people and they've gotten with Plexus, tried a couple different things, and they're taking it for a lot of the problems that she had. So obviously when we started Plexus, it was just a crazy turmoil for us because, I mean, she just had Breslin. I just lost a job and got a job. And so there was a lot going on that we had. And I really wasn't worried about the money, so to speak, but I was worried that we would basically put a lot of money into products that didn't work. So beforehand, kind of like while we were dating and probably when we first got married, Kasia went through a series of tests. We were trying to figure out, was it a gluten issue? Was there some, I think one of them was even a possibility of lupus. I mean, we just went through this whole panel of all these tests. So we were just basically just trying to find something. And so I guess the turning point with me is after she got on the Slim, obviously she tried to recruit me real quick. And I was like, well, just try it. See if it works for you. If it really works for you, if you're really pushing it, and if it really helps you out, then I'll get into the middle of it, and we'll see what it can do for me. Because at that time, well, basically still now, I'm still working 10 to 14-hour days, 4 to 5 days a week. So I really wasn't interested so much in the business as more of I wanted to see the results. So about probably about a month into it, Kasha started feeling a lot better. She was having a lot less pain, just overall pain. And then I started kind of thinking, I kind of did some research on my own. So just kind of talk.
Some a lot.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Forever.
So obviously we had, I was involved, somewhat incoherently involved with Cassie's Zooms calls and stuff like that. Because, you know, when Kasha has them in the bed and, you know, and I'm trying to sleep and we have an hour-long Zoom, you know, I kind of retain stuff. That's pretty much how I retain probably 3/4 of her major. Even though I don't know what the words are and everything, I know all the definitions. So I noticed a big change about the first month. And
So
then
it was basically like when you started.
hey, this is my interview.
I know, but I'm trying. Other
He's
people-
like, I finally get to talk. I finally get to talk
So
after all these Zooms.
About the first month, I kind of noticed a reduction in her pain. But about month 3, her RLS virtually went away, which I noticed immediately because obviously that affects my sleep. So that was the turning point for me.
So you were very results driven. I mean,
Yes.
obviously you did your research,
Yes.
but it was more of like, okay, hey, let's try this out. And then when you saw the results, that's when it was like, okay, I feel
Correct.
better about this company.
Right. For me, I mean, words are pretty much irrelevant. I want to see the results.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. And keep in mind, we also have another dynamic of male versus female too. And so like you've got Dustin, who's a male green, and that could be playing into it. Cause I know guys a lot of times are results driven in general. And then you've got a green male. So keep that in the back of your mind. Kirsty, I'm interested to see what you think. You know, what were you skeptical about? What eased your mind as a green?
So I was very skeptical about if this was just going to be something that I had allergic reactions or side effects to. I'd kind of gotten used to being prescribed pills that I had a reaction to and then having to take pills for pills or side effects from it and having to take more pills for other pills. So I was really concerned is this really going to solve my problem or is it going to cause more reactions, more health issues where I'm going to have to start taking more pills? Because I've had prescription pills that now I have heart murmur that I have to watch on a regular basis and things like that. So I was really concerned that this was going to cause more harm than it was good. What eased my mind a lot is watching Kasha's journey through it. I watched her for a good 6 months before I decided to even jump in. I mean, a good 6 months stalked her. She probably didn't know it until about 3 months after I'd started watching her post and everything. Because I had no idea she suffered with a lot of the same stuff that I suffered with. I had no idea until I started seeing her post. And we're cousins. We never really had connected through the years because she lives in Oklahoma and I live in Texas. So watching her post and seeing that really triggered that for me. And I didn't do a whole heck of a lot of research before I dived in because by the time I joined, the night of testimonies is what got me. Hearing people's results and knowing for a fact, because it was on a Zoom call or like a Facebook Live thing. So it wasn't thought out and planned to some regard. It wasn't a commercial for the company. I wasn't really concerned about what Plexus was as a company. I wanted to know what were these products going to do for me. So seeing people's results and their testimonies and what it did for them and what it didn't do really kind of sunk in for me. And it wasn't until after I got the products in my hands that I really researched a lot more.
Okay. That's super interesting because both of you green said results. And I don't think I would have thought that. Maybe that's just me. As a green, I would have said I need to get you all the data. And so I think that's good when it comes to our posting, guys. The greens want to see testimonies. And they don't want commercial testimonies. They want real. Like, do you know the person? Did you actually tag them in your post? I don't know. Like, I look for that. Did they actually tag them? Is this someone they actually know? The night of testimonies, great point, Christy. Like, when those things come around, those are invaluable because they're real people in real time. They're not sure they're thought out, but they're not like scripted. They're people in their cars and in their bedrooms, like, recording a video live. Like, so those are invaluable, especially to greens, which I would have thought yellows, like get all your yellows on the night of testimonies, which I know the yellows love it too. But that's a great point, guys. Thank you for that. Let's keep going. Michelle, we're going to come back to you. I want to hear how you felt about cost and ingredients.
So cost was a huge obstacle for me starting out. I didn't have, so very brief backstory. So we were a family of 5 on a teacher's salary. We were going through a time, but anxiety was something that I was struggling with, along with just being an extremely tired mom. So I had already tried anxiety meds, which then in turn were causing me to be more tired and to gain weight. Not really the effects that I was looking for. So cost was a big deal. I didn't have an extra $100 to spend on these products, but I wanted nothing to do with any sort of selling, sharing, putting myself out there regarding the business. So I did not jump in thinking, ooh, I'll get my products paid for. It was mentioned that that was a possibility, but I was like, no way, that is not for me. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to be that person. So cost was a big deal. But I also knew that I was at a point in my life that I was not the mom that I wanted to be. I was not the wife that I wanted to be. I was not the teacher I wanted to be. Like, I was in a really bad place. And I knew that I would figure out a way to pay for these products if they worked. But I fully intended to get my money back after 60 days before I had to pay my credit card bill. Like, that was kind of my thought process there. And then as far as ingredients, the reason that I even was okay to try them in the first place, or that I was intrigued by them in the first place, was that they were plant-based. I took enough time to learn, or I had followed Ashley's story long enough to know that the ingredients were pure. And after having taken anxiety meds, I knew I didn't want anything that was going to be like a detriment to my body in any way, shape, or form. So I did find value in the ingredients very early on, but cost was definitely an obstacle for me.
Okay, and you were willing to just trust, you didn't go out and research ingredients necessarily. It was more through posts and communicating that way that you were okay with cost or with ingredients.
Correct.
And it sounds like you were at a desperate enough place that you were willing to sacrifice the cost for a short amount of time in hopes that it would work.
Yes.
Okay. Tammy, I want to see how you feel. How did you feel about the company?
The company, honestly, in the beginning, I did a little research about the company, but it wasn't very extensive. I didn't really care, to be quite honest with you. It wasn't research. I didn't even think to look up the company. I looked up to see how long they were around, and I think I asked Cassie a few questions, and then I did a few Google searches of comparing Plexus to Advocare, but that's it.
Okay. So company wasn't a huge obstacle for you. You just needed the basics.
Yeah.
How long have they been around? How do they compare to another company that you knew of? And then that was enough for you to kind of move on from there.
Yeah.
And what did you feel about cost?
Cost, again, it wasn't that, I expected a high price point for it, but
Okay.
it actually wasn't as high as I expected it to be.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
So I expected to pay more.
Okay.
So I wasn't shocked by it, but I was working, my husband was working, so it was something I was willing to take a chance on and just really put the money towards and go for it. But I had no expectations on trying to get it paid for or start a business.
Okay. Perfect. Let's move to the greens. Let's see, Dustin, how did you feel about cost?
So with our cost, it took a lot of persuading from Kasia. Because we were in a really tight spot. So it was going to be hey, we're either going to buy formula or we're going to buy this stuff. And so with a little bit of debate, I asked her to give me like a week or so, and then she would start talking into working the business. And basically, I gave her 3 months. I said, here's 3 months. Obviously, if stuff changes, I get a really good job, get a bonus, whatever else, and money's not a factor, then that doesn't matter. But it was pretty much a timeline. You have 3 months to get some serious results. And I don't mean like just starting the business. I mean just getting them paid for. So obviously, after they're paid for, and basically we're back to net zero, and now we're going into the positive. It didn't really bother me at all.
Yes,
But I just wanted to make sure that the product she was taking was going to fix her problem. And then when she did get to basically zero and get into the black, after that I was good.
yes.
So I pretty much just left that on her shoulders, which I may or may not should have.
Yes, but in that, again, very green there. Like, they want kind of the cut and dry. What's it going to cost? What's my over under here? He uses terms like red and, when are you going to get back into the black and, all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. Greens are very like, okay, I will give you X amount of dollars for X amount of time. And if we're not back to this point by that time, then it's over. So just kind of knowing your audience there. Because if you talk that way to like a yellow, or a blue, they're going to be like, wait, what? Christy, let's hear what you had to say about ingredients and company. Any thoughts there?
Well, after I got the triplex, I'm gonna tell you, the night of testimonies, after seeing everything, I was really desperate. So I was not my normal fashion. I typically do research stuff before I like jump in, but I trusted Kasha, and I was desperate for some type of relief because basically sleeping the whole day long while I'm trying to work was not an option anymore.
Sure.
But once I got everything, I really did start diving in to researching the products and what it does for your body. Whenever I was younger, I had so many prescriptions that were put in my body and so many side effects from it that made it where I really did not like putting things in my body that I didn't know where they came from. Because I wanted to know, okay, so if I put this in my body and I take it, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to grow a tail? I mean, what's going to happen? So I really dug in and started, and I still do. I still go back and watch new videos or different training videos on different products. I love learning that stuff. It's something that I'm really driven to do. And if you tell me I have to take a test on it, it's a different story. I don't want to do it. But if I'm just doing it just to learn it, I can never get enough information about products and what they do for us and the ingredients behind it. So I loved what information was out there about Plexus. It's amazing how many videos and Google searches you can do and find really good, knowledgeable information about our ingredients. Did you say company or cost?
Company.
The company, my mom has done so many network marketing companies before that network marketing wasn't like a big scary thing to me. I thought it was like, I could not afford the products in my budget, so I had to work the business. But at that point in time, I didn't have like a vision of, I want to go diamond in this company. It's like, okay, I have to get these products paid for so I can keep living life. And so that was really kind of what it boiled down to me, was making sure my products are paid for at least enough each month where I can continue ordering them and don't have to stop.
Awesome. And what I feel like I keep hearing, one of my questions was did you Google or did you just trust the person? And I feel like we've kind of already talked about that with all of these answers. And what's interesting is amongst the two colors we've talked to tonight, it really kind of came down to the person. They did a little bit of research, even the greens did a little bit of research, but ultimately it sounds like it had more to do with the person than the research. And so I think that's important for us to understand and to know that we need to be connecting with people and we need to have influence. And you can get both of those things. Like, those aren't just things that you're born with. I mean, some people have influence and connection easier, but those are both things that you can gain. And so if you're feeling like you're not getting enough people joining or you're having a harder time, like, work on influence and work on connection, guys. Influence comes so many different ways, but your main thing there is you're wanting people to want what you have. okay, and you're wanting to impact their life in a positive way. So take a look at your Facebook posting, take a look at what your day-to-day life is, and make sure that you're getting that across to your people. So I've loved that about the 2 colors. I'll be interested to see next week if it's the same. But so far I've heard that. I want the last question we're going to go over, we're right at the end of our time here, is kind of what intrigued you the most? What was that thing that you were like, that's what made me ask the person, that's what made me reach out to the person, or that's what made me say, okay, I'm going to give this a try? Michelle, what would you say intrigued you the most about Plexus, either business or products?
Sure. So as I was watching posts, the thing that really caught my eye over and over was energy. That was obviously something that I had struggled with so much. And I think that that's across the board for so many people. It doesn't have to be mom. It's not just moms, like it's moms, it's dads, it's pretty much everyone at 2:00 in the afternoon. I knew that was something that I was struggling with. And so that really intrigued me, but there were other articles that I watched. So even though I'm yellow, there were a lot of articles that I had seen that really piqued my interest as far as just the variety of things that were attached to gut health. So when I joined, I was looking for energy and hopefully help with anxiety. But I didn't realize that it was going to impact my sleep, impact my digestion, my monthly cycles, just the list goes on, and allergies. Like, I didn't even consider that was something. So the initial peak to my interest was energy, but then as I dug in and learned more and more, it was, just this complete spiral that there were literally so many things that I didn't even count as struggles in my life. I just accepted them as normal, that then in turn were bettered because of my products.
Awesome. Tammy, what would you say intrigued you the most?
So I had already been looking up gut health previously, and what intrigued me the most is the posts that I related to. So like anything specific like PCOS, endometriosis, the specifics is what caught my attention. And there was one post specifically about gut health and the targets of everything, and that just really made me ask more questions and ask more questions to the person because it spoke to me. So specifics that I related to is what intrigued me the most.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 yellows kind of saying the same thing. What intrigued them the most was something that they were dealing with and battling with daily, and they were not the same thing. So if you're looking at what do I post about a variety of things, because you don't know what other people are suffering with daily. And make a list, maybe make a calendar that says, okay, on the 1st I'm posting about energy, on the 2nd I'm posting about PCOS, on the 3rd I'm posting about endo, on the 4th I'm posting about diabetes. Like, map out all the things that people struggle with and find a post for each of those things. Because we've already heard from 2 people there. Oh yes, Cassie says, always check with someone before you post their testimony. Yes, if you're not sure, most of this, like on, what am I trying to say? Oh, on the life-changing Plexus testimonies, most of those stuff are good to go. But you do always want to check first. Don't just feel, especially if they personally posted it, like you want to make sure that was something they're willing to share. But yes, find testimonies, find third-party articles. I've had great luck with that. Third-party articles where they're just tying gut health to PCOS or gut health to energy, where you don't have to, testimonies are great, but interspersing some articles as well. Let's see, I'm interested to see what Dustin says. What intrigued you the most about the Plexus products or the Plexus business?
So product-wise, it wasn't really like gut health and all that was a big thing for me, but the triplex helped me. But I think at this point, when you're working a 14-hour day, just short of meth is the only thing going to keep you running. But, I will say that the extra products, so when we started getting into it, I asked Kasia what could we do, what do they have for pain? Because I can't hardly take any, so like I'm allergic to ibuprofen, which also takes out Advil. I can't take Aleve, when I take aspirin, my pain goes away, but stomach bleeds and everything else. So for a lot of physical pain, I was like, what do they have? And so she started me out on Ease, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be a joke. I mean, just right off the bat, I was like, this is, because I've tried, growing up playing a lot of sports, Flexol, Bengay, all the Biofreeze, Blue Emu, you name it, I've tried it. So what was about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, trying to help a friend out. Took a tree limb to the back of the head. And it's about like getting hit with a baseball bat. And so I told Cassia, I came home kind of freaked out a little bit, and I was like, I've been hit like this before. I've taken stuff like this, shots like this before. But man, we rubbed some Ease on that. I probably had 2 or 3 applications of just the cream, and I took like 4 Ease before I went to bed, and I literally got up and there was almost no bruising when it should have been just terrible. And I didn't have a headache. I wasn't out of it. I mean, so that was more of the, I guess the intriguing portion of it for me is what other products you guys have. So now I've also experimented with the protein shake flavors, all the different flavor stuff. So it's the extra products that probably have roped me in more, maybe because I'm a guy. I mean, not trying to throw that out there, but dudes aren't really, I mean, we're worried about gut health, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's like not really worried about gut health, if you snap a
What's
bone.
gonna help me right now?
Yeah,
right now?
What's immediate, If I go out and wreck a dirt bike, hey, that Slim's not gonna do me any good, but that Ease will. I mean, so that was probably my intriguing point.
Got it. Nice. And that's an interesting point that guys do tend to be kind of, I mean, we're a quick fix society for sure.
Yeah.
But guys definitely want the like, hey, right now, I got this pain, I want this, or I need
The
energy.
edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Christy, what about you? Like, what intrigued you the most? What made you jump on board? What was it that got you?
So I had researched leaky gut syndrome years ago and had just kind of pushed it out of my head. I was like, because it was still up in the air. At that point in time when I researched it, it was still kind of like a theory of sorts. It wasn't confirmed at that point. So I hadn't really thought of it since then. But some of Cassia's posts and some of the research that I did about the Triplex products as a whole, I say the gut health stuff. And I really started digging more into that and realizing kind of a lot what Michelle said, how much it affects every other aspect of our bodies, and seeing how there was so much more potential. I mean, whenever I first decided to do Plexus, I told myself if I could have 10% less pain on a daily basis, the amount that I could do in my life would be so much greater with just a little bit less pain. It'd be still a little bit more manageable, but to see how much more it could do than just that was profound for me. To where, I mean, I've had people tell me, I don't want to take so many pills a day. And I was like, I used to take 10 to 11 pills a day that were prescription drugs. I'd rather take 10 to 11 supplements and have no pain in my body on a normal basis, not have allergies. I wasn't able to eat hardly anything before I started Plexus. I can eat whatever I want to now with hardly any side effects. So that really intrigued me, was the potential for what else it could change in my life. And I saw a lot of Cassia's posts, and that's really kind of what triggered it more, was seeing not just her post about the pain, but her allergy post really like kicked it in for me to do a lot more research.
Awesome. And another thing I'm hearing as everybody's talking is everybody was looking for a change. These people obviously all decided to do it. So what about the people that don't decide to do it? Where did we miss the boat there? Why aren't they trying? And perhaps it's that we didn't ask enough questions. Perhaps it's that we weren't able to point out that this could change for them. And like Christy just said, what if you had 10% less pain? What would your day, Susie, what would your day look like if you had 10% less pain than you have today? Susie would be like, well, my life would be like 10%, like that would be amazing. You know, we're not saying like, what if you had no pain? Susie can't imagine that she would live in a life with no pain. So don't throw something crazy out there at Susie. But what if you said, Susie, what if you had 10% less pain? Susie, what if you didn't have to take allergy medication every day? What if you only had to take it 5 times a week? What if you had 1 less migraine a month? 1 less migraine a year? People that struggle with migraines, like if you told them you could take away 1 migraine a year, or could possibly, I mean, we don't know that any of this is going to happen, but they start imagining, what if my life was like that? Well, if she's saying that it's possible, maybe it's worth trying. I heard that with all of them, is they were intrigued. If we don't point out that life could be different for them, they may not try it. And so that's kind of our job in dealing with these objections and dealing with why people don't do it, is helping them to realize why they should try it. Don't focus on why they don't do it. Focus on why they should. And point out how their lives could be different if they just gave this a shot for 3 to 6 months, 2 to 4, you know, whatever it is that they need to at least try it for 60 days. But what if? And we have to help them see that their lives could be different, guys. If we don't make that connection, people are never going to get to have the results that we've all had or experience like life with 10% less pain. And so objections are hard. But going back to last week, we've got to push through them, because if we don't push through the objections, they won't see the what if. And that's what I heard everybody kind of say here, is there was something that they were desperate enough to try, regardless of color. It sounds like we're having like a race thing, but regardless of color, they were desperate enough to try it. And so we've got to be the ones that are connecting with people, that are influencing people, and that are showing them that life could be different. And that's what I got out of tonight. Does anybody have anything else to add, or any questions for anybody that spoke tonight regarding color or anything else?
Quiet.
I know. I really want to thank the people that talked tonight. I know that you guys all have your own story and all have your own reasons why, but it's really good to look back. I mean, I've been doing this for 2.5 years, and I learned a bunch tonight. So it's good to kind of look back, think back to why you joined. You know, ask yourself those same questions. What made you join? What stopped you? What ultimately pushed you over the edge? And think back to that as you're reaching out to people. I think we're good to stop the recording, Cassie. We're going to do blues and reds next week. Hopefully learn some more about different colors and how this all plays in.